So I mean, what actually mentioned about really the differences of perspectives on this, and so he's mentioning about Germany having, for example, privacy at the heart of society, much more so than India. So we are coming from different approaches. If we look more globally, we look at the US approach, for example. It's much more commercial orientated. It's looking for free trade and liberalization in this area. And data is really regarded as a commercial asset, not as a public asset. The Chinese approach, for example, is really having very strong digital trade restrictions and very much government interferences, and they have very strong data localization requirements. The EU approach is privileging much more public policy objectives, but also consumer and private data protection. I think what's going to happen next month at the ministerial conference in the WTO, and where India in particular has been seen as very vocal, to be polite, by some members, or even obstructionist in other circles. But I think certainly India has a very strong position on this, and a very strong desire, I think, to shape the rules at the multilateral level. And they have a big following of developing countries that are also supporting what they're doing. On the other side, we have more of the OECD countries who are looking at much more liberal rules, more data localization, restrictions being lifted, etc. So I think when we come out of the MC12, which is perhaps likely to fail, or it will be a watered down agreement at best, but we will get a better appreciation, I think, as to how much give and take will happen. Of course, in an FTA between two parties like India and UK, we expect to go much further than at the WTO level, because obviously the scope will be much wider and deeper. But I still, I think it's going to be quite hard, I think, to meet the demands of both sides. If I can just say that the UK is perhaps keener on an agreement right now, more desirous of an agreement quite quickly than perhaps India is. And so that might place a bit more strength on the Indian camp to get what they would prefer getting out of that deal. But it's hard to say yet how things are going to turn out. But certainly, I think the perspectives are very different. The UK is also quite competitive in data localization services, cloud computing services. And as mentioned by Ashish as well, is that the Indians may be looking at protecting that sector to try and build it up to become more competitive. So, but they're two very different perspectives that they're trying to meet halfway.